what I really love about the Elbaf reveal, and I don't think Oda's really done this with any other island now that I think about it. This is the only island he's done this with. Sneak peeks of the island little by little. You mention it in one arc, you mention it in Little Garden, we hear it by name. We hear it again by name later in Water Set or in Enies Lobby with Oimo and Kashi. But once again, we don't know much about it. We just keep hearing about it. And the coolest part about it is we don't see Elbaf, but we see the people from Elbaf. And they're very obviously distinct individuals. They're massive dudes. They're incredible warriors. So you can't help but just imagine what this place looks like, when you finally get there. And further we get into the story, we keep getting these little, like, one scene in Elbaf, two scenes in Elbaf. Oda just shows us, like, the tiniest corner of the island, a little sneak peek of what we're in for. And then you get, like, the biggest view we've ever gotten of it was with Big Mom. And now we have this character who was, like, a central figure in taking out Big Mom. And then right at the end of the arc, he goes to Elbaf now. And now we see Elbaf through his perspective. And it's just, like, clear that Oda has been working up to this. Like, the whole Big Mom setup, the kid versus Big Mom, the now kids arriving at Elbaf, the little sneak peeks that we've been getting throughout the story, and each one is increasingly lengthier. And now it's like, now we're just going to straight up get to the island. And I don't think he's done this with any other island. It really feels like this one has the most hype behind it.
Yeah.
Out of any of the islands we've been to so far. More than Wano. We heard about Wano quite a bit too. But it wasn't like Elbaf. It wasn't as significant. Like, there's just nothing that's been played up like that. So I think that's so sick. It's like, it's just exciting. I can't wait to finally get the payoff after all these years.
That's right. Yeah, like the amount of theories people have made about what Elbaf is, and like, and especially when it comes to Usopp, because my favorite parts of the entire series have been character development, specifically for Usopp. Like him having that time in Water 7 with Luffy, having that fight, showing that development. I absolutely love that. And then also, all the talk about him wanting to be a brave warrior, and him leveling Elbaf. That it's going to be really cool to see how they're going to play into that, and really, hopefully, I would want this to be, like Usopp's arc, much like how Wano was. It wasn't like we anticipated Wano to be like the big Zoro arc because of his history. He had moments, and they're all really cool moments, but it wasn't really his arc. And I expect the same for Elbaf. It's going to be a whole bunch of different things. But yeah, I would really hope after all of this time that we do get that much needed development for Usopp. Because I think it'd be
what
really
it is. The thing with the whole like blank characters arc thing, the reason, and I've thought about this, and I had to kind of readjust my perspective on this, because the reason that Whole Cake was Sanji's arc at all, and we have to remember the only reason we were at Whole Cake period was because of Sanji. We wouldn't have gone to Whole Cake Island had he not been kidnapped and all that stuff happened. We would have never gone there. Wano was a place we were going to no matter what, regardless of Zoro, because in reality, Wano is Momo's arc. It's Momo's story. Yeah. It's like Alabasta to Vivi. So, while it is the land of swordsmen and all that, I will say I think people underrate how much of that arc did give Zoro his like fair share of scenes. We had an entire extended sequence where Zoro was separated from the crew and he was wandering the Ringo region by himself, sword fighting with Killer. On the bridge, we find out later that Ringo is his ancestral homeland. All the stuff with Shusui, Hiyori. We get the Yasue execution, and that was like the first time we've seen Zoro get like genuinely emotional or upset about something in a long time, I feel like. It might sound like I'm just hyping it up, but like Onigashima also, I really do feel like the themes in the King fight tie heavily into Kuina, specifically because of like King uses his race as an excuse for why Zoro can't win or why people can't defeat him, which is like the inverse of what Kuina would say, where she's like, I can't win because I'm a girl. And like Zoro hates that mentality. He hates that like, oh, you can't do this because of this circumstance from when you were born. and that's what Zoro hates more than anything. So like King epitomized that for him. Everything with the Conqueror's Haki, Enma, the Grim Reaper showing up, like it's all Zoro development there. Ryuma also being a one-eyed samurai, like, you know, it wasn't explicitly his arc, but that makes sense because we weren't in Wano for him. We weren't there for him, so it shouldn't be his. Same reason like with Elbaf, if our impetus for going to Elbaf in the first place was because of something Usopp related, I would be 100% prepared for the whole arc to be an Usopp arc. Just like with Whole Cake, it was like the only reason we're there is for Sanji. I don't know if that's going to happen with Elbaf. I think Elbaf is going to be a mix of reasons why we're at that island, and that means we're going to get a bunch of plot threads that are going to be tying together, not necessarily Usopp focused, but the way I see it playing out is if we do have Usopp moments, they're probably going to be the most significant among the Straw Hats in that arc. Even if it's not the whole arc focused on Usopp, he's going to get probably the top tier moments of the Straw Hats on that island. And that's kind of what I'm anticipating. And in that same respect, I feel like Wano did that for Zoro. I think Zoro had some of the most top tier moments in Wano. That goes to Zoro and Luffy, obviously. But aside from Luffy, Zoro got some of the best moments. I still, to this day, I still get chills thinking about the Shishi Son Son on Scratchman Apu that Zoro did, that one panel where he just did the one shot slice. And it's like, there aren't many panels in Wano like that for any other Straw Hats besides Luffy, really. So we have to give the arc credit. In that respect, it definitely was Zoro's arc, at least in terms of like a secondary trait of the arc. Is it's like that? Yeah, it's Zoro's thing. That's kind of like what I'm feeling we're gonna get with Elbaf. I don't want people to get too hyped up for it to be Usopp's arc and then get upset at Oda when it's like the whole arc isn't about Usopp. You know, that's the one thing I'm worried about now that we have it confirmed. Is like everyone's ready. Okay, it's time for Usopp. Usopp's done nothing for the last 5 years. Time for him to get his shine. And if he doesn't get the moment, or I don't know, it's tough. I think he will. I think he'll get his moments, but I don't know if we're getting a year of Usopp like with Sanji, you know.
So you're saying the summer of Usopp is
yeah, you know, that's good. Like a season of Usopp.
Yeah.
More, as opposed to a year of Usopp. Like we might have a stretch of like 5 or 6 chapters that are all Usopp focused. And I'm down for that. But are we doing it for the whole arc? I don't think so.
No,
I don't know about that. Yeah.
Because like we're getting like the thing to focus on is that right now during Egghead, we have had flashes to other parts of the world that are having all these developments happening at the same time. It would be kind of absurd to think of like having a full-fledged adventure focusing primarily, just only on Usopp, and having no sort of progression for anyone else, while all the stuff around the world is progressively happening in real time. Like we need everybody to, like we need Luffy to, like Luffy may be going through Elbaf, like kind of chasing breadcrumbs from like Shanks. Shanks may have put things in place throughout Elbaf to be like, all right, Luffy has to go through these sort of trials or these sort of things to overcome that I've sort of left for him to progress. And then you have everyone else progressing too. Yeah, I mean, Usopp's definitely going to have a moment. He's definitely going to have some sort of moment like Zoro had, I believe. But yeah, having just a solo Usopp adventure while everything else in the world is happening in real time and having no progression for everyone else is a pretty absurd thing to think about. So yeah,
I mean you mentioned to me that you haven't seen my videos because you saw me on like Reverie and stuff. So one question I have for you, have you ever heard the Usopp like little theory that I have? I might have mentioned it in Reverie, but if I haven't shared that with you, I think you'd appreciate it just because of like how it ties in. But I do think Usopp's gonna have like a moment in Elbaf where he like immortalizes himself in like their folktales somehow. And the specific folktale I have in mind is William Tell, the guy who sniped an apple off the top of a kid's head.
Okay.
With the arrow. I think Usopp's gonna have a moment like that where he does like he like shoots. Maybe it's not an apple, but like, you know, it could be something else where he shoots like a target in an absurd situation, like kind of like Dressrosa, like this target you shouldn't be able to hit. Usopp hits it, and it does something, where the people of Elbaf like remember him as like some incredible warrior, a sniper, and I think that what's going to happen with that is that Usopp's story is ultimately going to be an inversion of Mont Blanc Noland's, where Noland was a hero that was remembered as a liar, and Usopp is a liar that's remembered as a hero ultimately. And he's going to have, I think he's going to have his own storybook, just like Noland had a book. Usopp's going to have his own book. My money is on like Usopp the hero or Usopp's fables or something like that. But it does tie perfectly into Elbaf because Elbaf backwards is fable. So Usopp's going to get to the island literally named Fable. He's going to create his own story, and he's going to go down in like the folklore in the opposite fashion that Nolan did. And I think that would be really funny. A really funny way to cap off his growth and having that happen at Elbaf, the land of giants, where he finally becomes like a metaphorical giant, through this action or whatever. I think that would be really cool. So that's my hope. That's why I don't need the whole thing to focus. I just need Usopp to get like that one thing, that one moment that kind of completes his internal arc, and then maybe something about his father. Obviously, he needs to have something with his father come up. We need to know more about like, what their relationship really is like, because I know Usopp is proud of him and he respects his dad, but obviously, his dad also missed out on his mom dying. So I wonder if there's any other feelings that are like hidden there, and I think that might come out in the arc too, which I'm hoping for. I want more insight into that. So.
Yeah, I think that's a real key point. I mean, that's something I can always really vouch for. It's just having more depth to characters, and for me, in Egghead recently with Bonnie, just seeing like those moments of emotion, reliving Kuma's memories, that really hits, because I'm like, this is some really good emotion and depth and to these characters, which I really appreciate, and yeah. I'd hope for a lot more from that, especially with the Straw Hats. Like, I mean, we have their own arcs, and we have that depth and that introduction to them and everything like that. But I feel that after this stretch of time, like, I feel like having a bit more of that would be nice. So I would expect that for Usopp, totally. Yeah. But also, I will say, I'm going to out myself right now for feeling like a total idiot. But I did not know Elbaf backwards was Fable.
Really?
I really didn't know.
Well, that's hilarious. Well, you want me to blow your mind even more? Do you know?
Please.
Do you know what Usopp's backstory is based on? The boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
You know where that comes from?
Where did that come from?
That's one of Aesop's fables. Have you ever heard of Aesop's fables?
No.
Aesop was a storyteller in ancient Greece, I believe, and he was a famous storyteller who told a lot of these folk tales that now we take them for granted today. They're like kids' stories, but they were all told by this guy Aesop thousands of years ago, originally by word of mouth, and they spread by word of mouth. This is all real. The name Usopp comes from Aesop, and it's a reference to that. So that's why Usopp's a storyteller. And Usopp's backstory is based on the boy who cried wolf. The boy who cried wolf is one of Aesop's fables. Another one would be a wolf in sheep's clothing. That's another one of Aesop's fables, which is referenced in, once again, Klahadore disguises himself as a butler. Who's the other butler? The dude's a literal sheep. Mary's a sheep. So it's like the whole boy who cried wolf mixed with the wolf in sheep's clothing story is straight up. That's the backstory for Usopp. So his whole backstory is just Aesop's fables, like a bunch of Aesop's fables mixed together. And now the one island that Usopp wants to go to more than anywhere else is the island that's literally fable spelled backwards. So yeah, so Oda is very cheeky with that. He's so some other ones you might recognize. I'm trying to think of like other popular ones. You ever heard of the fox and the grapes? Like, the expression sour grapes?
Yeah, sour grapes. Yeah,
that's where that comes from. It comes from one of Aesop's fables, where a fox tries to get grapes on a tree and he can't reach them. So then he calms himself down by telling himself, "Oh, the grapes are probably sour anyway."
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So that's an Aesop's. That's also one of Aesop's fables. So, Yeah, all of those come from there's hundreds of them, and this one dude came up with all of them, which is why I think it would be really cool if the One Piece world had a real equivalent to that in the
Yeah,
form of Usopp, where
yeah.
Usopp tells all these stories, and we see that with Kaya, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
he's he's sitting there in the window telling her all the stories, and it's the same things. So I do hope that that plays out. And another really cool part about this is the three kids that Usopp had in his crew. One of them was Tamanegi. His name is
Mm-hmm.
Onion.
Yeah.
This kid was what did he say his dream was to be? He wanted to become a famous writer. So
Yeah.
they said to Usopp, until while you're gone, we're gonna continue your legacy. So after Usopp leaves the island, they all continue to shout, "The pirates are coming! Pirates are coming!"
Mm-hmm.
One day, they're gonna be shouting, "Pirates are coming!" and it's actually gonna be true. And Usopp's gonna be returning home as a pirate, as a brave warrior of the sea. And then Tamanegi is gonna write his stories down. This time they're true stories. They're no longer lies and fibs. Maybe with a Usopp spin on them, and he's going to write them down, and he's going to create Usopp's fables, and that's going to become the new Noland, the new like Noland of the One Piece world, like the storybook character.
I think once One Piece is starting to wrap up and we're having all these payoffs, like yeah, the pirates are coming, Usopp coming back with all the. I'm gonna be sobbing. It's gonna be like these
It's going to be sick.
these live streams on here. It's gonna be therapy sessions, just like talking about like having a huge release of emotions because yeah, that just sounds so perfect. And that's exactly what we would want for these characters. And I mean, because Oda has been setting
Yeah,
these characters up for so long, so well with all these different references, it's just like there's so many avenues to have a perfect send off, a perfect wrap up for these characters, and that's just perfect.